Rev it up and welcome to Cars Yeah, show number 1843. Buckle up because today we're at Skip Barber Racing School.
This is Cars Yeah, where you'll enjoy interviews with inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Mark Green is here to provide you with a fuel injection of automotive inspiration. So get in, sit down, buckle up, and get ready for a wild ride here on Cars Yeah.
Hello, inspiring automotive enthusiasts, and welcome to Cars Yeah. Today I'm in Tampa, Florida. A little warm there, but that's okay. We'll have some fun with a very special guest by the name of Don Kutschall. Don, welcome to Cars Yeah. Do you have any gear, and are you ready to release the clutch?
Let's drop the clutch.
Yeah, you know how to do that very well, and I'll explain that, or he will explain that in a minute. But before I give you a proper introduction, what's one little thing that most people don't know about you, Don?
One thing may be that some people may not know in the racing world that I was actually a professional dancer, that I took a hiatus from racing and pursued dance as a career. My first wife was a dancer, and we ran the dance program at the State University College of Buffalo, and had a dance company separate from that as well, and toured around and performed.
Wow. Well, yeah, that's a very interesting and very tight niche, if you will, to go into dancing. A lot like acting or professional athletes, which I guess dancers you could say are professional athletes. You've got to be trained and know how to use your body and everything. Well, I'm going to give you a proper introduction, and I think what I'm going to launch into after that is how does this dance in some ways relate to racing? I think there might be an interesting correlation here. So allow me to give you a proper introduction.
Okay.
Don Kutschall is a lead driving instructor at Skip Barber Racing School, which I'm very proud to say I'm an alumni. I graduated from there with a racing license for all racing and driving programs. His time behind the wheel goes back to 1959 when he started racing karts. And in 1988, he won the SCCA WNY Region Rookie of the Year and the Skip Barber Midwest Rookie of the Year in Formula Fords. Between 1989 and 1987, Don raced in the IMSA Firehawk Series and the various iterations that grew out of that. He was a pro driver for the Viper at SRT Thrill Rides at NASCAR races, and he's worked in numerous companies and for numerous companies as a driver and an instructor. And from 1990 to the present, he's been with Skip Barber Racing School and continues to do private coaching in various series, including the Ferrari Challenge. Very cool. We'll be back in just a minute, but first a word from our sponsors. So sit tight, keep the seatbelts tight. We're at Skip Barber Racing School today. We're going to have some fun. We'll be right back. One of your vehicle's interior surfaces that gets a lot of abuse is your dashboard. The sun beats down and those damaging UV rays cause massive heat cycles, resulting in color changes and sometimes cracks. My friends at Covercraft have a great solution for you and for me. Their custom-tailored dash mats protect your dash from heat buildup while providing a stylish solution. You can choose from a variety of styles and colors, including carpet, suede mat, that's the one I have for my vehicles, Carhartt limited edition velour mats, and the Ultimat for trucks and SUVs. Another great benefit of your Covercraft dash mat is that it eliminates the harsh glare the sun produces from your dash to the inside of your windshield, which can make driving a hazard. Covercraft's Dash Mat Design Center is located in Arizona, where they know about harsh sun. I've got a special deal for you. If you use the code YEAH21, YEAH21 at covercraft.com, you'll get 10% off your Covercraft order. That's right, 10% off. Just use the code YEAH21 at checkout. Covercraft, protecting the things that move you. I was tired of my rates for my collector car insurance going up every year for no explainable reason. My carrier seemed to be turning into a media company versus an insurance company, and I realized that a portion of my policy premium was paying for all those so-called free media goodies. So I did my homework, I talked to knowledgeable collectors, shopped around, and discovered American Collectors Insurance. They've been serving the collector car hobby since 1976. You last that long by properly serving your customers' insurance need, not with a lot of fluff. ACI is ranked the #1 online collector car insurance provider according to Google, Trustpilot, Facebook, and they offer their real person guarantee live support. No never-ending phone loops when you need help. Plus, because you don't use your classic car as a daily driver, you could save up to 40% compared to regular auto insurance. American Collectors Insurance provides agreed value policies. So if you experience a total loss to your collector vehicle or it's stolen, you'll be paid the amount listed on your declaration page, less any deductibles, of course. No ifs, ands, or buts. Give them a call today and ask for your free quote at 866-ACI-YEAH. That's 866-224-9324. Tell them you're a friend of mine, Mark Greens at Cars Yeah. American Collectors Insurance. Classic car insurance designed by collectors for collectors. All right, Don, so we're back. So let's dive a little deeper into the corner, as you love to do. And as I alluded at the beginning here, I want to first ask you, before we kind of go through what you're up to these days and perhaps a bit of history with you, are there any relationships between professional dance and driving?
And people ask me that, and I strongly believe that there are. I've even talked to Hinch about this and Castor Nevis a little bit since they did Dancing with the Stars.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
But their sensibilities were about that. But anyway, for me, both are about high-performance motion and the control or the attempt to control high-performance motion. Both are about absolute focus. This one thing to the exclusion of all else. When the lights go down, the curtain rises, it's this to the exclusion of all else. When the face shield goes down, it's this to the exclusion of all else. In dance, so I make a mistake, I ruin someone's choreography. In racing, to make a mistake, and damage can be done, as you know. So both are similar in that regard. But certainly, focus, one's kinesthetic sense, how one perceives motion, is common to both. They are both about keeping the body or the vehicle centered, keeping balance. Driving a race car, as you well know, is much about balance, how you keep the contact patches balanced to your desired effect. And of course, dancing is all about balance. It's all about having your base of your center of gravity over your base of support. And in many ways, that's analogous to driving a race car, your base of support being your 4 contact patches.
You did that very well. I think you must...
Well, that's one in a row.
Yeah, I guess the one in a row. Yeah, we're off to a great start, which is always good in racing or dancing. My daughter danced from the time she was 3 all the way through college. She ran the dance school at her college. And I used to ask her that because I would go to all these recitals from the very first one, which is kind of fun and quirky, and you think, oh, this is cute, until she started becoming a ballet dancer and doing toe. And I would sit there sometimes and look at her and go, who is that person? Holy cow. And I would ask her, do you get nervous? And she said, I would get a little nervous at the beginning, but once, as you say, the curtain goes up, you just go into this focus mode and you ignore everything around you. And it's very much what you said. And that's what I liked about racing. It's the same with riding motorcycles. You cannot daydream when you're on the racetrack or on a motorcycle, because it will end in a bad way. And I've never been a dancer. I'm not a good dancer, but I would imagine the same on the stage. If you start to daydream, you'll miss a beat, you miss a step, or fall flat on your face. So, well, let's walk through this new path you took. And I love the way you said it when you sent me your bio. I returned to the safety of racing in the mid-'80s after age and injuries. And I just laughed at that. I thought, okay, now this guy has an interesting sense of humor, but there's some reality to that as well. So walk us through, if you would, your history with driving and your passion for driving, and what took you into driving from dance, because most people would think 2 very different things.
Well, curiously enough, I actually started driving race carts prior to dance. I came to dance fairly late. I lived in Mansfield, Ohio, just a little Midwestern town, but about 18 minutes away from my home was Mid-Ohio. It actually came about after I started racing carts. And so I raced, and inevitably you ran out of money.
That happens in racing, doesn't it?
Does it not?
Yeah.
And so then I discovered dance in college and found I had both. I didn't know boys did this. My gosh. When I first saw a dance concert. So I pursued dance with as equal a passion as I pursued racing. And then as my legs began the surgeries began to multiply, I got back involved in racing in the mid-'80s. I discovered racing. My dad and I were looking for something to do, a bonding thing, if you will. With something with, we looked at scooters, we looked at motorcycles, all kinds of things. And then we were driving by a little shopping center called Johnny Appleseed Shopping Center, still extant there in Mansfield. And there were these hay bales in this parking lot, and go-karts were running around. This was 1958. And we stopped by, and, my eyes are about as big as you can imagine. And one of the guys said, "Do you want to drive one?" I go, "Me?" "Yeah." And so he let me drive it, and I was done.
That was it. The needle was in the vein.
Yeah, I was getting the full dose. And I met a mentor there, a fellow by the name of Earl Stiving, extraordinary mechanic par excellence, and a great driver. And he became my dad's best friend and my mentor. He sold bug carts out of Azusa, California, they were. And of course, dart carts were in, I don't know if you know about what you know about vintage karting, but dart carts were built in Mansfield, Ohio, with under the auspices of Mickey Rupp. And Mickey wanted me to run one of his carts, but I was already committed to bugs, and that's a long story in itself. But Earl became, as I say, he became my engine builder, my mentor, and I have great thanks for what he brought to my awareness that I wasn't familiar with in the past. Yeah.
Well, you segued into my next question, and that is great mentors. And when I think about driving instructors, and I've had lots of driving instructors on this show, everybody from Ross Bentley to some of your colleagues that you run with, and we've had great talks, but I never had the fortune of having a great driving instructor mentor other than the time I spent at Skip Barber at Laguna Seca, and then I did a 3-day open wheel school at Road America and got to go do that as well. So I think of those people as short-term mentors, if you will, that really helped me think about it. But I did have a guy, Dick, who ran our local Sovereign Vintage Racing Group, because that's what I did. And he was a great person to go through. Tom Armstrong, who was another friend of mine who we lost some years ago, who drove some big-ass cars, Can-Am cars and big block Chevys and things like that. I mean, some serious stuff. Who had helped me because I was in a little Lotus and a Lola T290, and those cars, very different, but they helped guide me. So when you think about what you do now as a mentor, what do you enjoy so much about this of helping people be better drivers?
Wow. Not to be facetious, but partly my own safety, because I drive out on the highway with all the rest of them.
If only you could train everyone, Don. That'd be nice. Put down your phones.
Yeah, at least. But I was so fortunate because I started driving so young. It became virtually an autonomic activity for me, that my body knew how to do it even if my head didn't. You know what I mean? But then I discovered Mark Donahue, and he became a hero of mine. Yeah. And his approach. And so I began to understand one could quantify this. One could actually come up with methodologies to instructing racing. So getting back to your origins of your question, what I enjoy so much is being able to see the development in people, the discoveries when that light bulb goes on, the aha moments, which can be both positive and negative. The aha moment is, I get it now, and the racing gods won't permit that. Hubris is unwelcome in the racing world.
It sounds like same with golf.
Yeah, I'm sure I don't. That's one obsession I haven't taken up. But yeah. So. The insights that I've been able to gain, not only from my own driving, but certainly from the instructors at Skip Barber, what I've learned from all the rest of those guys and what I've stolen from them, of course, has been invaluable to me in understanding driving even more and being able to find, again, that method of imparting that information to folks that helps them understand. Because as you know, you can say something to someone 100 times, and the 101st time they say, "Well, why didn't you say that before?" They weren't ready to hear it.
They weren't ready to hear it. I like that.
Yeah. So it's a matter of really finding when someone begin to not only understand but apply. For me, it often happens the first time someone discovers trail braking. They read about it, they really don't understand it. Why does this occur? But when they actually discover it, and they discover how when the right foot fades off the brake into the corner, that it actually helps rear steer and point the car in towards the apex. And they go, "Oh my God, that's what he's talking about." And that to me, because they often almost always report back, now I see it. Now I get it. Now I just have to be able to repeat it. Well, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You touched on something very valuable. When people hear the word Skip Barber Racing School, many people think, well, I'm not a racer. I don't want to be a racer. Why would I go do that? And I always tell them it's not about racing. It's about car control. And I know that after I went to my first school and I started doing some racing, not a lot, but a little bit, I was in the car with my mother-in-law and my wife, and somebody ran through a red light. And I did a maneuver and barely missed them, got around them, and drove on. And my mother-in-law was screaming, my wife was screaming, and I went into this automatic mode. And I remember my mother-in-law saying, "How did you do that?" And I said, "I don't know. I just did it." But as I thought about it, I realized, okay, it was all about brake, gas, maneuver. Those techniques, if you go to Skip Barber Racing School, can help you immeasurably on the street in all sorts of conditions. Sent both my kids to driving school before they started driving, and they've told me to this day things they learned way back when, not that they're that old, but they're older, were invaluable to them. And I'm always proud to say many of particularly my daughter's friends, all crashed several times, but my daughter, knock on wood, never did. Although she has a heavy right foot. I think she's a bit of a faster driver than her brother, but I don't know. Maybe that's a girl thing. I don't know. So, but I want you to talk a little bit to that about Skip Barber Racing School and what it can mean for a variety of different people. You don't have to want to be a race car driver to go and not only enjoy it, it's so much fun, but learn some really valuable skills.
Mark, you've hit it on exactly. At Skip Barber, there are a whole array of folks who come to the programs. There are those, yes, who typically, not exclusively, but typically the young person coming out of karting, making that transition into cars. And they want to be racers. That's what their goal is. Like we've had all the Andretti's and such comes through the school. I mean, I was one of the instructors who taught Marco Andretti his first car racing school when he turned 16.
No way. Serious?
Yeah, at Savannah, yeah, Rolling Road.
Wow.
And, there are those. And then there are others who it's a Walter Mitty thing. That this is, they want to check that box, having gotten in a race car. And so whether one is at either end of the spectrum, there is still much to be gained in terms of the confidence one finds in learning to at least attempt to control a race car or a car, just a car, because all cars have, 4 tires and a steering wheel and 2 or 3 pedals, and how one learns to balance the car to control it can be valuable from a personal point of view, but also from a safety point of view, as you just articulated on the highway. We do, of course, have the Hagerty driving schools, which are expressly for those who want to gain highway skills. It's some of the same things you do on the first day of a 3-day racing school in terms of an autocross and emergency braking and emergency lane change and skid control and all that. But we had so many people, parents even, write back to us later on saying that was an invaluable program for our children because they were able to avoid an incident. As you just suggested, your daughter has avoided incidents where her friends have not been able to because they had no skills. They had no background. They had no foundation of how a car behaves.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I would encourage you listeners out there, check out Skip Barber Racing School. It's so much fun. The 2 different schools on the 2 different parts of the country that I did. So I had different instructors, which had different perspectives, but all those skill sets that I picked up and learned have been valuable. And the other thing that it did for me was it slowed me down on the street.
Mm-hmm.
I always drove a little too fast on the street and, being a guy and thinking I knew how to drive. Oh, I'm okay. I can drive fast. But it caused me to slow down and realize, save that speed for the track. You can go do wonderful days with clubs at tracks. Mm-hmm. You don't have to have a race car. You don't have to be racing. Just go out there and learn how your car manages in a faster situation and how to control it in a situation where it's relatively safe and sound and not too crazy. So as long as some of your other drivers out there aren't being too crazy as well, that's a key part of it.
No, I concur with you. Driving on the street, when you understand how little most people understand about driving a car, I'm backing off. I'm giving them room. I'm anticipating what they're doing way ahead because I know I'm going to need to perhaps find an escape route.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I actually think I drive slower on the highway certainly than I did before I raced.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't tell you how many times I've been with my wife driving and somebody will do something and I'll slow down fairly abruptly and she'll go, what's going on? I said, watch what this guy's about to do.
Yeah.
And you can see it coming when you know the dynamics, and especially people in big trucks or SUVs that don't control themselves as well, especially when you have somebody at the wheel, sawing at the wheel. So yeah, it's a fun thing. I'll make sure I put links. They're easy to find, skipbarberracingschool.com. Yeah, check it out. We're going to take a short break. We come back. I want to talk a little bit about a big challenge in your life, Don. So keep the seatbelts tight, keep them cinched, and we'll be right back.
Great.
What began as a charitable car show has grown into the world's greatest collector car auctions, raising over $133 million for charitable organizations to date. For nearly 50 years, automotive enthusiasts from all over the world have enjoyed the Barrett-Jackson collector car auctions, and I'm a huge fan. Regarded as the barometer of the collector car industry, their auctions are world-class lifestyle events where thousands of the world's most sought-after, unique, and valuable automobiles cross the block in front of a global audience, in person, on TV, or streamed online. Barrett-Jackson produces the world's greatest collector car auctions in Scottsdale, Arizona, Palm Beach, Florida, Las Vegas, Nevada, and new for 2021, Houston, Texas. The excitement of Barrett-Jackson auctions is contagious, and a unique experience is not to be missed. And be sure to visit barrettjackson.com today. Barrett-Jackson, the world's greatest collector car auctions. I've discovered Linkage. It's a new quarterly publication and website that covers the automotive market, driving, restoring, collecting, and discovering your passion for motor vehicles. Linkage is about experiences, opinions, and values. Linkage is an actual informed, reasoned opinion based on first-hand experiences. A talented Linkage team covers the automotive world, the people who share your passion and mine, smart, considered, rational, and experienced opinions, ones you can learn from and grow. That includes our passion that drives auctions and the collector car market. So come with me and join us on this journey. And be sure to use the code CARSYEAH when you subscribe, and they'll give you $10 off. Boom! Linkage, geared for the automotive life. Subscribe today at linkagemag.com. So, Don, let's talk about this big challenge, big obstacle, maybe even big failure. Who knows? It's more, though, about the lesson that it taught you that you could carry forward in a positive way than maybe the painful memories. But take us on a little bit of a bumpy ride, if you will.
Oh, wow. Yeah, which one?
Well, you're like me, a rather mature man. So you've been around, you've experienced life, right?
Yeah, I've got an aggregate of experiences. Yes,
Yes.
Some of them good, but yeah. I think of one incident at Road America, actually, and I was following son of a famous race driver. His last name is Greg, but and I had a run on him in a Formula Ford coming out of the kink. Mm-hmm. And I pulled out to pass, and later on he said he saw me coming, and he moved over to block. Well, that was fine, but I was already there. And, at about 115, he turned me around, and, I go through the details. I was uninjured, happily, except for bruising in my wallet.
Yes.
But destroyed the car. Destroyed the car. Hit the guardrail backwards at about 115, and everything was coming off. And I was sliding my belly pan towards the new concrete wall they put on the inside, driver's right. I was still pushing on the brake, mind you. No tires were attached.
So all the tires were off the vehicle?
Yeah, it was a.
You were a bullet at that point.
Yeah. There was just shrapnel everywhere on the track.
Wow!
And
yikes!
It was a big hit, to be sure. And so, one of the important things I learned there was every pass you can make is not necessarily one you should try to make.
Yes.
That one needs to be more strategic about such things. And I was young enough to be, of course, as you alluded to earlier, I was young enough to be invulnerable and think I could do anything with a car and put it anywhere and be able to get out of a situation. Well, that's not necessarily true. And so, it was a big shock to my sense of, I can do anything with this car. And that was a good thing. that was a good thing. As I alluded to earlier, that aha moment. Oh, I get it now. Now I know how to drive this thing. Almost always leads to a problem, to a crash. I had another one like that at Watkins Glen, but that's another story. And so that I learned to be less impulsive, to play the chess game at speed, and not speed chess, but just play the chess game at speed. Know what the goal is, and the goal is to be ahead by 3 inches at the finish line. I don't have to lead any other lap at any other time other than then. And so everything, what I gained from that certainly was in reflection, was to be more circumspect, to not try to win the race at every corner on every opportunity, but rather have the end game in sight.
What's that saying? In order to win a race, you must first finish.
In order to finish first, you must first finish.
Yeah, there you go. You said it much better than I paraphrased a bit, but I understand. Wow. And a Formula 4 is not something that you want to crash in. I always had that thought in the back of my mind driving that old Lotus. Yeah, I just never felt safe in that car. That's why I finally ended up selling it. The same gentleman I talked to raced a Jolus and was severely injured down in New Zealand racing that car because there's just not much safety in those things. Right. Nothing around you. Colin Chapman liked light cars.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he didn't care. I shouldn't say he didn't care about his drivers, but they were second to the car going fast, that's for sure. Well, I appreciate you sharing that valuable lesson. It's the same thing on the roadways, public roadways. Sometimes it's not worth passing that guy. Just let him go. Let him go. As I used to say to my kids, other people may have a lot more to lose than you when it comes to road rage and insanity out there on the roadway. So just let them go. Just let them go. They'll take care of themselves. When you think about your life right now, you've done so many cool things. You've lived such a rounded, wonderful life, and you got to play with cars. Is there still something on your bucket list? Maybe a car you want to drive someday, or somewhere track you've never been on?
Of course, with this caveat. Unfortunately, as I said, dance was more dangerous than racing in many respects. Now I'm up to 26 surgeries. I have my 27th next week.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So I've got Anyway, so
replacement parts are flying off every.
Yeah,
you've got to put in new parts.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. Yeah. So my back is the main issue. Those thousands of jumps and leaps I did, the hundreds of women I lifted, and then some crashes catalyzed what had already been weak elements in my body or previously damaged. Uh-huh. And so driving a race car is pretty difficult for me right now. I can do it. I literally can do it, but not for long, and I pay for it severely afterwards. Now we're hoping this next surgery will give me some respite from that. But yes, I would love to drive the ring as an example, and I never obviously never have. I'd love to. There are European circuits and British circuits that I've not been on. I've been on most of them in the U.S. certainly, but in Canada that I would love to go to. That would be a bucket list. I was in Barcelona a few years ago, adjudicating for Mazda and SCCA some Euro drivers to bring over to the Mazda MX-5 shootout in Laguna. Uh-huh. So that was a great treat to be at Barcelona, certainly. But there are many tracks in Europe that I have not had opportunity to drive. So yes, I would like to do that. I would like to drive some of the Euro tracks. I find that I got in one of our Skip Barber F4 cars at Coda, a track I know well, and such an amazing vehicle. So I got to drive a contemporary Formula car. It's an F4. It's part of the international homologation. It was a huge treat for me to find that kind of aero performance that is in that vehicle. Wow. I mean, at full speed going down the back straightaway, I couldn't push hard enough on the brake pedal to achieve lockup. Literally could not.
Wow.
I could not, because it had so much aero dialed in.
Wow.
And so, but the car would slow down at a prodigious rate. It would just, it's like, you see F1 cars, braking ridiculously late, like at turn 1 at Coda at maybe the 50 or 75 mark, going brake mark, going into turn 1. And I go, wow, that's amazing. Well, I understand now, because they're obviously much more sophisticated, but in that vein. So I would like to be able to do that again, but I won't be able to do that for a while, at least until I address some of the physical challenges.
Let's talk about a special car in your life. A car that really stands out. And this could be a street car, it could be a race car you've driven, but talk about that vehicle and maybe share a memory you have about that vehicle.
Sure. We've already spoken of a common friend, Jim Cantrell.
Yes.
And he's been on your program as well. And Jim is, as you know, quite an interesting person.
Oh yes, very unique guy. Yeah,
very unique guy. A co-founder of SpaceX, has his own rocket company called Phantom Space. But in his heart of hearts, he's a bust his knuckles, grease under his fingernails, design, build, and drive race cars. That's who he is. And so he has a number of cars, and he purchased the 1969 Lola T163 Can-Am car that Penske owned and Mark Donahue drove one time at Mid-Ohio. And when he rebuilt that, he had me come out and drive it. And that was just astounding.
Wow, my gosh. Those things are beasts.
When Mark said, he was once asked, how much horsepower is enough? He says, when I can light the tires up, leaving a corner, and I can leave the black marks continuing until they go to the brake pedal for the next corner, that's enough.
Oh, my God.
And that's that car. 900 horsepower, 1,500 pounds. Yeah, it was an amazing experience to drive that, I must say.
Yeah, you sent me a picture of that vehicle.
I did indeed.
Yeah, I'll make sure I put that on Don's show notes page for you listeners. You can go check it out, or you can look it up. Just Google it, and you'll find that vehicle all over the place. It's absolutely stunning. Now, I'm going to crawl in your head a little bit here. Be a psychiatrist, if you will, Don.
Uh-oh.
All right? Here we go.
You're very brave.
Yeah, every day. If you woke up tomorrow and you were manifest as a vehicle, not what you want to be, but your personality in some kind of vehicle, what would you be? But the more important part of this question is why.
I've struggled with that, actually.
Good. I love it.
Of what car? I must admit, it's almost the cliche, but maybe it is a bit of hubris. But I think of a Ferrari 588.
Okay.
That's and that may be a bit of inflation for me to think of myself. But that's kind of how that may be as much aspirational as factual. And because it is an extraordinarily elegant design, I think it's just a gorgeous vehicle. B, its performance for a street race car, its all-around performance to me is just astounding. It is truly a thoroughbred, a real high-performance vehicle that is yet accessible, not in terms of finances, but accessible in terms of driving.
Yeah, they're about $250,000, I think, something like that.
Yeah, about that, right? Yeah, that's well out of my budget. But yes, that's the gist of it.
Is it because the car is equally capable on the street and the track?
Yeah.
There you go.
Thank you for articulating where I did not. That it is indeed. That's what I mean. Accessible. That it's very drivable on the street, but you put it on a track and it's an utter beast.
It is 3.9 liter V8 with about 675 horsepower. Yeah, that thing can go. That is for sure. So I like it. Very nice answer to that question. Are there some ways, and this is pretty obvious in my mind, that you like to give back to others in the automotive sector? Being a mentor, being a driving instructor, huge.
There's some ways I would like to give back.
Yeah, to others.
Sure. And I obviously I love teaching. I still love teaching. I've literally been teaching since 1978, but I've been teaching racing since 1990.
Long time.
Yeah, a long time. And still have the passion for it. Still love to be able to communicate those skills and techniques. And the mindset as well. Because, as you know, as with any sport, once you've gotten past the fundamentals, it's all a mind game. It's in your head. And what differentiates a good driver from a great one, I think, is as much in one's mind, how one can embrace the various forces that are being placed on the car and how you're endeavoring to control those is in your head. Now, obviously, as I've discovered, there are physical limitations that can intervene. So I like to be able not only just the technique, how one quantifies driving a car or a race car, but what is the mindset? What is the mindset that allows one to be a safe driver or a successful driver on the track? And we've looked at that briefly earlier, but it is choosing your battles. Know what your goals are. On the street, you're driving 10 miles an hour faster. Well, okay, you get in an hour, you get somewhere 10 minutes earlier. Let's say, okay, what was it worth the chances you took in order to do that?
Right.
On the track, it's, as I suggested earlier, think of it as a chess game. That what is my end goal? Because after all, if you don't know what your goal is, how do you know how to achieve it? So the end goal is to lead across the finish line, and everything else is to build up to that. One of the things I admire so much about Scott Dixon is how he plays the race, if you will, how he strategizes the race to that one effect.
Yeah, it is a big chess game many, many times. And then one yellow flag changes that whole game.
He found out to his dismay because the whole, ran out of fuel, couldn't get in the pits at India.
Yeah, incredible. Yeah, that's what makes it so dynamic. Is there a book that you've read that you'd like to share that you found really valuable or fun?
Yeah, there are actually a number, of course. If you want to look into an in-depth discussion of what it takes to drive a race car, it would be Going Faster by Carl Lopez. Yeah. You may be familiar with it.
Yep.
It is a compendium of many years of Carl. Carl was one of the original instructors with Skip Barber. And we spent whole seasons talking about one thing, braking, as an example. But the book is an extraordinary articulation of driving a race car. From a more anecdotal point of view, I mentioned Mark Donohue, of course, and I love his The Unfair Advantage. And it is anecdotal. It's by no means a textbook, but it is anecdotal. But you can glean a lot about his approach and how he discovered that. I discovered his approach to racing. One of the books that influenced me a great deal was Sterling Moss's, All But My Life. When he describes how he came back from his big crash at Goodwood that effectively ended his career. And how he did that, and et cetera. And he was a big inspiration to me as well as I was growing up. So there is. I'll leave you with one last one, and a little bit different perspective. A fellow by the name of Dunlop, no relation, wrote a book called "Damn Few Died in Bed." He was a car builder and crew chief, and it's from the era of about mid-1930s to the mid-70s. And so it was that transition eventually from the roadsters to the rear engine cars. But extraordinary accounting of just what it took to be a race driver at that time and how many we lost.
Yeah,
on a weekly basis.
Great books. I'll make sure I put those on Don's show notes page so you can click and purchase those and add those to your automotive library. Remember, there's a great place on the Cars Yeah website called Guest Recommended Books where there's over 2,000 books listed there by my inspiring automotive enthusiasts, and I made it really easy for you to buy those. So check it out on the Cars Yeah website. We'll be back. We'll take one more short break. We come back. We're going on the ultimate drive or ride. We'll see what it is, or race. We'll see what it is for Don. Sit tight. We'll be right back. Today's vehicles are essentially computers on wheels, and it takes more than a wrench and oil to keep them humming. That's why Cars Yeah supports TechForce Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to driving tomorrow's workforce of skilled technicians forward. Techs keep our cars, trucks, airplanes, and fleets rolling. Yet there's a massive tech shortage because many young people don't know it's no longer a blue-collar job. Today, it's a new-collar career. It involves computers, technology, it's in high demand, you get paid really well, and you can live and work anywhere in the country. I know you're passionate about cars, trucks, and motorcycles, and you can help pass that passion on to the next generation of techs so our rides keep rolling down the road. Visit techforce.org today and learn how. All right, Don, we're going on the ultimate drive. That means you get to pick the vehicle, you get to pick somebody you're with, and you get to pick where you're going and what you're going to be talking about. So what does the ultimate drive or ride look like for you?
Wow. For me, the one thing about a high-performance two-seater sports car that I would change is that it has one too many seats. But apart from that, I would love to be a rider sitting next to, and this may seem almost a cliche, but I'll tell you why in a moment, to Ayrton Senna. And it almost doesn't matter. It needs to be a high-performance car. Mid-engine probably be best suited to this. For one specific reason, I've only encountered a couple other drivers. I would like to understand more about his throttle trace. I'm sure it's absolutely unteachable, but at least in sedans, I've seen in the middle of the corner, he's on and off the throttle like driving a go-kart. Because the throttle's almost an on-off switch in a kart, but he's on and off the throttle in the middle of the corner. You just no way you can teach that. I think I understand what he's doing, but I would love to ride with him and experience that. I've known one other driver with Skip Barber, Jason Holhouse, who has used that technique some, and I've talked to him about it, but I would love to be with Ayrton. I would also love to ride with Mark Donohue, and I'd love it to be in a Camaro, not unlike the Camaros he raced with Roger. And I'd like to learn more about his process of discovering trail braking, what he called the American style of driving as contrasted to the European style of driving. I would like to get it from his mouth. I've read about it, but his book is not, as I say, a textbook. It really is anecdotal. So I would like to feel and understand how he came to that discovery. Intellectually, I understand, but I'd like to be in the seat, experience it.
Ultimate rides and drives indeed. Yeah. I like the way you added the why in there. That's very important. Why do you want to be with that person? Fantastic. Well, you've taken us on a fantastic ride today, Don. This has been really good to get to know you better. And I want to do a shout out to Dan DeMonte, part of the group that is leading the Skip Barber Racing School now. I mean, they've really transformed this school into something quite even more spectacular than it was before. So, Dan, thank you for introducing me to Don and the other people we've had on the show here that are from the racing school. Before I let you go, could you offer me one little parting piece of wisdom, maybe a success quote or a mantra that you might share with us today?
Absolutely. There's a life lesson here somewhere, right? Whether I've learned it or not is another question. But always look where you want to go, even if you're not going there. Be optimistic. If you find yourself sliding towards a guardrail and you want to hit it, just keep staring at it.
Yes.
Rather, look where you want to go at all times. And I've never, ever been with someone riding right seat who does that initially. It is a learned skill. It's not an instinctual skill, but it's a learned skill. So look where you want to go, even if it's not where you're going.
It's brilliant, and it works, too. So practice that at low speeds in a safe situation for sure. But that's the way to do it. What's the best way for people to learn more about Skip Barber Racing School?
SkipBarber.com. Please go to our webpage, and there's all kinds of information. There's a phone number there. You could call one of our customer service people. As we say, we have people standing by, waiting to talk to you about driving schools or racing schools. And I would like to give a shout out certainly to the DeMontes, Anthony, Dan, etc., for the resurgence that we found in Skip Barber and what they are doing to build this company. It's great to see it returning to former days of glory, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't emphasize enough for you listeners. Again, you don't have to want to be a race car driver to go and have fun, number one, but learn some invaluable lessons here. I would really encourage you to add this to your personal bucket list. If anything we've learned after the last 15 months of what's gone on in the world, life is fleeting. So get out there and live it and enjoy it and do those things that you always said, I shoulda, coulda, woulda. Take those out of your vernacular and go do-a, as I say. So, Don, thanks for being so generous today with your time, your experience, your expertise, and your knowledge. Until you and I talk again, I hope to see you on the track somewhere. I'll see you down the road.
Thanks, Mark.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's ride here at Cars Yeah! Drive on over to carsyeah.com to find show notes and inspiring automotive fun. Download your free copy of Filler Up, a fun book filled with gorgeous photographs of fuel filler fun, including quotes from more inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Download your copy today, and we'll see you next time on Cars Yeah!